Here we go again. Another Davos gathering, another World Economic Forum annual conference. Oh yes, all the juicy gossip, all the chaos, all the stupid ideas coming out of Davos again. Top-down reorganization, centralization of all powers, and stakeholder capitalism, or corporatism. It's not really capitalism, is it? They are talking about censoring speech, in the name of tackling misinformation and disinformation. Yeah, and guess who they're using? Oh yeah, Ursula von der Leyen, of course, the head of the European Commission. What she wants to drive the global collaboration to tackle misinformation and disinformation and polarization. So is she going to finally tackle the issue with the BBC bias? Because, misinformation coming from BBC, CNN, maybe? All this? Nah, of course not. So let's go and see what Ursula has to say. Then we're going to talk about what they're actually doing in Davos. Oh yeah, because we're missing out. It's so much fun. Oh yeah, caviar and prostitutes. I know. Let's find out.
For the global business community, the top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate. It is disinformation and misinformation, followed closely by polarization within our societies. These risks are serious because they limit our ability to tackle the big global challenges we are facing. Changes in our climate and our geopolitical climate, shifts in our demography and in our technology, spiraling regional conflicts and intensified geopolitical competition and their impacts on supply chains. The sobering reality is that we are once again competing more intensely across countries than we have in several decades. And this makes the theme of this year's Davos meeting even more relevant: rebuilding trust. This is not a time for conflicts or polarization. This is a time to build trust. This is a time to drive global collaboration more than ever before. This requires immediate and structural responses to match the size of the global challenges. I believe it can be done.
What? Okay, I fell asleep. All right, there's a problem here. The beginning of the speech. Every year, these people come out to say, well, no, the biggest crisis that we're dealing with. One day they say it's the virus, then they say it's climate, then they said conflict. But now, today, she's come out, Ursula, saying, actually, the priority and crisis right now in the world is not climate or the conflicts. It's misinformation. Then you find out what she actually means, because towards the end of the speech, she says, the problem we're currently facing is because all our countries are becoming more competitive again. They compete against each other compared to a few decades ago, more than ever before, basically. It reminds her of the days of empires and in each individual countries when England and France were clashing. Calm down, Ursula. The problem we're having is because for decades, for the past 3 decades, you've done the exact opposite. You've crushed competition because these people believe in centralization. These people do not believe in individual liberty or nation states. And the reason for that is because people say they want one world government. It's not one world government. They want a new version of a global empire. And they start by creating blocks and their own regions, which is the European Union and, then the North America and all the other countries to get together. There's a problem here because this goes against the basic psychology that's actually helped humanity, which is individual liberty, self-determination for the nation and the individual as a citizen, at the same time basic cultural conservative values to promote family values and community spirit and look after your own, the loyal people around you. The issue that she has is that the reason they're against competition in free market. They believe in stakeholder capitalism, not shareholder capitalism. Stakeholder capitalism means they're going to use basically a couple of big corporations in each industry to be in charge of everything and to help everything, not just in terms of economically, but also in terms of social values and diversity, blah, blah, blah. So you can't do it if you have competition. They are against competition because they like monopolies. They want to centralize things, not just when it comes to the markets, but also politically and geopolitically. Anyway, what are they actually doing? They are going around. Mario Naffel, thank you for sending us this information from Daily Mail, actually. Sex workers have been fully booked at Davos. This year's WEF meeting at Davos appears to be heading in the usual direction of drug-fueled bunga sex parties. Local escort service website officially announced all local service providers are completely booked during the WEF week. And the WEF's 2024 theme is Rebuilding Trust. They're literally serving caviar on top of people's bodies, naked bodies, and they're talking about rebuilding trust. Let's go to our favorite villain, Klaus Schwab. So Uncle Klaus has come out to say, we need a paradigm shift. Oh, okay. This is actually funny because they keep repeating the same thing, the same mantra, but they just change the words every single year. So they change the slogans. It's been going on since the 70s, obviously, this organization. It's nothing new. And the ideas are the same. They just upgrade them by changing certain words. Let's go to Uncle Klaus.
So steeply transformative challenges, which are actually the cornerstone of our program, lead to uncertainty, generalized fear, and pessimism. They force us into a mode of short-term crisis management at the detriment of long-term strategic and sustainable solutions. This reactionary approach undermines our collective faith in the future. And here we losing the faith of our future, we risk to become much more ego-centered and on a national and individual level. To break this cycle, we need a paradigm shift. We must rebuild trust, and that's actually the theme of our meeting. We have to rebuild trust. Trust in our future, trust in our capacity to overcome challenges, and most importantly, trust in each other.
Oh, I've been expecting you, Mr. Bond. Such a weird villain. He needs to get a white cat as well. The problem we have is that he mentioned two key words that he's against: individual and nation. And he said we are becoming basically more self-absorbed, or it's about us. And he said we have to focus on the collective. So those who are going around, those who are not intellectually, they don't have the intellectual capacity, and they just get frustrated and angry, rightly so. They can't really go out there to have a debate with the so-called intellectuals, the pseudo-intellectuals. They say, well, WF wants to bring back communism or Marxism or something like whatever they call it. It's nothing to do with communism, nothing to do with Marxism. It's much worse than that. It's collectivism. It's ultra-collectivism. So the similarity between socialism, communism, Marxism, fascism, National Socialism, all these ideas, or you had even the dictatorial empires that you had in the past, the similarities, they were all collectivist. It was collectivism over the individual, as opposed to what we've had in the 20th century, since obviously the world wars and everything else we had, which was a liberal free market capitalist democracies, which is based on the individual. You still had the collective will, you call it the nation state. You have your family, you have your neighborhood, you have your community spirit and everything else. But it was mostly about individual liberty, self-determination, your own family, and your own nation. They don't like it. They want to bring it down because they want to do top-down reorganization. They want to centralize all the powers. It's not communism. It's much worse than that. Because the problem with communism is based on coercion. Communism and Marxism, they force you to do something and people will rebel. They found a new way to do collectivism without doing communism. They are doing stakeholder capitalism instead of shareholder capitalism, which is normal free market capitalism. So they are using corporations, a couple of corporations, few corporations, who are powerful in their own industry and sector, to take charge of the narrative. And you don't rebel against corporations. They do the decision makings. They do the social change, the social engineering. And everything that's happening right now, it's not just about corporations, it's also about institutions, the academia, the cultural institutions, and everything else, entertainment, Disney, Hollywood. Before, you had to have a dictator, a communist dictator, Stalin, to put a gun to your head, and all you have to do is just start rebelling, and you bring it down. This time, who are you going to rebel against? The Prime Minister? The President? They're not in charge. It's the whole of the collective that's in charge. It's essentially a faceless dictatorship. And it's not really, so there are those who are going around saying, oh, it's communism, it's one world government. That's too easy, that's too cheap in terms of an argument that you're making. Just basically say this is the new collective empire that they're creating. It is. It's a new collectivist empire that they're creating. And we've been warned so many times. In the 20th century, people wrote books, fictional stories, TV shows, movies about the dystopian future. Nobody took them seriously because they're like, it's just, fantasy land. But the human brain thinks it for a reason, because the human brain has the potential to also advocate and implement the same dystopian future that you've seen in movies and books. Same thing is going to happen. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.